Taylor, I am so pumped to sit with you and to discuss projects today. You have sat in maybe as many roles at Pearson-Kelly as anyone has. And so today we want to talk about projects, but can you just give us a little bit about like what you do here, where you came from, what have you done in the past, and kind of like how you end up maybe at Pearson-Kelly?
Yeah, so what I did in the past is what led me to Pearson-Kelly. So I used to work for an entertainment establishment, which I got to meet PKT because you guys did all kinds of team builders. And then Chelsea kind of scouted me out from there. And I was like, man, someone who invests in their team, they obviously like to have fun, right? They come have fun with me.
Party.
So I'm like, I want to be a part of that. So then I came over here. My current title is operations manager, and I just kind of hang out with everybody all day and oversee some numbers, some history that I've been through with PKT is warehouse. So I help out the warehouse and their team, inventory, ordering all that good stuff, and then service. So all of our service technicians, the OGs back there, and then also implementation. So whether that's VoIP, whether that's copier installs, the team that actually goes and deploys stuff.
That is awesome. So how does it all work with projects then? What's that tied to?
So I also get the joy and pleasure of being project manager here on the IT side. So basically what all that entails is I really just get to help out the technicians and make sure that they get to really do the important part, which is the actual work of the project. So I just kind of oversee as project manager communication with the client, making sure stuff is coming in correctly and on time, and then scheduling all that for the guys.
That's awesome. Well, you're so good at it, I'm afraid you're going to be stuck in it for a little while. So help me understand, whenever we talk about projects, so that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Yeah.
So how do we define projects, or how do you define projects, maybe when you're talking to a customer, to help them understand what that is?
Yeah. So I can tell you what a project is not. So a project is not a service ticket. So it's not you call in and you need something really fast and just quick, easy fix. That's what a project is not.
Okay.
So a project is going to be more strategic planning for you guys. So in the future, you want to build up your server, you want to build up your network to be this awesome, insane environment that can grow with you, right? And so that's what a project is. There's going to be multiple tickets, multiple phases throughout the entirety of the project to really hone in on where you're going, what your path is, and our IT team can take care of you with all that.
That is awesome. Okay, so you mentioned kind of VoIP and copiers and some of the other things you do with like the implementation team. So is there a difference in projects and implementation? And if not, how do those two work together?
Yeah, so yes, there is a difference. So implementation, if you just think of it as really simple, so I'm taking something out there. I might need to do one or two things to make sure you're comfortable and you are trained on whatever it is that we're deploying. But other than that, there's not really more that goes into an implementation than us just essentially we're going to drop off some hardware. We're going to, your new laptop, we're going to plug it in for you, make sure you know how to sign in, all your good stuff. Copier, same thing. You can, scan to your email, scan to folders, all the good stuff. But then that's really it. We take it, we deploy it, we make sure you're comfortable using it. And then we close that per se ticket out for you. And then a project, lots more. So there's communication throughout it. We're kind of learning and growing with you, trying to see what all it is that you're wanting in that project to make sure that we fully deliver exactly what you want. The difference also is all projects have SOWs. So SOW stands for scope of work. I don't know if you know that or not, but
Appreciate you telling me.
You're welcome. Scope of work is just basically something that us as your partner and then the client all agree on, hey, this is what we're going to do throughout your project, and to you that will mean it's completed. So we fulfilled and met all your expectations of what your project is needing.
Okay, that's super helpful. You're leading me right into my next question.
Okay.
So thank you. I appreciate those layups.
Good, you're welcome.
So can you give me a break? So if I, again, haven't been through a project before, are there some basic phases that kind of make up a project for us that I can kind of expect? That way I know kind of where I am maybe in the process?
Yeah, so as my job as the project manager, it's as many communication points as possible, especially with some back orders and stuff like now. That's extra communication. So as far as phases go, it's an initial kickoff. So we have one internally just to make sure all of our teams are on the same page. And then we have a kickoff call with our client that basically just really introduces me from the handoff from sales, right? Introduces me, introduces the tech that's going to be doing some of your work. And then from there, it basically goes to or any type of discovery. So we're following that SOW, right? So you're going to have your discovery work, so our technician coming on site or remotely doing any information, gathering what they need to do the project. And then inside that time, they're going to actually be doing configuration, all the goods that make your equipment work, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the actual deployment of your project. So going out, installing it, making sure that it fits with your network, all the goods. And then there's a closeout of your project, which is just me going over that last SOW with you, making sure you're comfortable, your project's complete, right?
Yeah.
And then internally, we have a meeting that just basically goes over everything. So did we stay on budget? Did we go over budget? Were we on our SOW?
Post-mortem?
Yeah, post-mortem, right?
Not postpartum.
Not postpartum. So we basically then have that meeting that just goes over all the things of the project, making sure that from sales to ops to delivery, we did everything and the project was a success.
That's good. Again, another layup. I appreciate it. So the personalities involved. So if I'm a customer and I'm involved, I assume I've probably dealt with sales at some point.
Yeah.
But like, are there other personalities and how would they be involved in my project?
Yeah, so your account manager is always a good person that you always feel comfortable to reach out to them because at the end of the day, they're going to be your chasers. So they'll come chase me or whoever it is that they need to get that information from. But as the project manager, I really stress that, hey, I'm the person that you can communicate with the entirety of your project. So instead of going to somebody and then them chasing the answer for you, I like to be that first person that you communicate with. And some of that is just me staying in front of them too. So they know and they're comfortable continuously talking to me throughout their project. Other personalities that they're going to see throughout their project is obviously going to be their tech. As cool as I am, I'm not technical really. So the technicians are really the ones who are also communicating throughout the entirety of the project with the client. So yeah, I mean, Bobby will make an appearance every now and then, and so that's really the main people in the project.
And he's our support manager.
And Bobby is our support manager.
Okay,
Yes, thank
great.
you for that.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so a lot of communication happening.
Yeah.
So do I get your spouse's information so I can call you at night? Like how do we handle communication through those projects? What's best through that process?
Yeah, so my spouse will probably communicate tenfold better than I will. But as far as communication throughout the project, some of it is just me pinging you, letting you know where we're at in the moment. So sometimes, I mean, all of our tickets throughout the project will update the client. So if we have a technician working on a project, they get emails with what all is happening in that ticket
cool. Okay.
from the technician after they work on every single ticket and phase throughout that project. However, those are just emails. So, I mean, I'm sure you get, just maybe a couple emails throughout the day, right?
Oh, my Lord.
Those will die, right? They just go into an abyss, and then I'm like, oh, you got an email on it. And they're like, they don't care, right? So clients like to hear from us. So let's say a technician goes on site. First off, let me back up. I do all the scheduling, okay? So I let you know, hey, Lee, technician's going to be on site this date and time for you. Technician shows up, they do the work, they let me know it's either completed and finished, or they need to go back on site another day. Well, then at the end of the day, Lee, I just call you and I say, hey, technician was on site, this is what they completed, this is what they have remaining, when's an additional time to schedule that up for you. If they have additional questions there, they can ask them. If not, then we just move to the next phase of our project. The only downfall about communication right now is sometimes we just communicate ETAs, right? So when we're just waiting for hardware and stuff like that to come in, then it's just me literally every now and then throughout the week and stuff like that. I would say right now on ETAs, I'm at least touching them once or twice a week. And letting them know the ETAs just remain the same or they have a new ETA. So, yeah.
What about, so one thing we do that not everyone does for sure is those Tuesday, Friday meetings. Can you just touch
Yeah.
on those and how that impacts Friday, you know what I mean, the project side of this? It may only be Fridays for projects, but
Yeah.
what happens in those and kind of how does that help keep us on task?
Yeah. So on Tuesdays and Fridays, the entire support team meets and they go over not just projects, but they also go over support tickets and just like anything that they have going on throughout the week, where tickets are, if they need assistance. And then we hone in on projects every time. And during the project piece of that, we're going over, I'm updating the status on all the projects for the team and or asking where we're at. So some of the guys will have things that pop up. They need to change the SOW. They need, more assistance. And that's my time to really be like, okay, with a group, collaborative, what can we do to accomplish this? That also allows the guys to know when new projects are in, but we haven't received hardware yet because they're really committed to all their clients. So they want to know what's coming down the line and what they have going on, and they're excited and eager to hear about it. So that's also when I get as I tell some of them, bring Christmas morning to them and let them know all the cool new projects coming their way.
What about, so one of the benefits if you're a managed client with us, meaning managed IT, that you get access to the portal.
Yeah.
So not everyone gets access to it, but if
Correct.
you are one of our managed clients, how can a customer use that for projects specifically?
Yeah, so there's lots of cool parts of the portal. One is checking any ticket and every ticket that you have come in. But the cool thing about it is for projects, you can see which exact phase you're in. So like, man, I wonder which part of it we're in. I know that they went over the phases at the beginning, but sometimes projects are, they can take time if you have a certain type of project.
Yep.
And so you can always log into your portal and see exactly where you are in that phase of your project. And sometimes I'll get, messages off of that being like, hey, we're already in this phase. That's awesome. And it's like, yeah, you are. Like, So, yeah.
I can't even talk about how cool the portal is because, again, back to the, your phone calls and that portal, the only thing I would want in my position, if I'm Pearson-Kelly, there's a good chance I'm going to be one of the people responsible for managing it if we were to do something. So it's a game changer for sure.
It is. It's like the perfect amount of communication too, because it's all on you when you want it. So you're not waiting for anybody. You can email me and call me all day, but if you email me, you're waiting for me to respond, right? If you call me, we can have that conversation, but the portal is 100% on your time. So, you mentioned 24/7. If you wake up at, midnight and you want to know, hey, where's my project at? Log into your portal and you know exactly where you're at in that project.
I love it. Okay, so how about the tools for use when managing projects? So we've talked about the portal a little bit. So from a customer perspective, I've got some cool tools. But how do you walk through managing that? What tools do you use for kind of managing the team and staying up to date?
So the two things that I am constantly on is ConnectWise. So you use the ConnectWise board for projects. And we have two different boards. We have onboarding, so onboarding new clients. And then we have projects in its own board. And then the only other tool that I use, sounds crazy, the text calendars, right? I got to know when they're available to start booking. And so those are really the two main tools that I use. And inside of ConnectWise on their boards, each project has their own individual. So I can literally go inside there and I leave all of my notes in there. I can schedule the guys through ConnectWise. I can add any internal notes for them. And any configurations or anything like that, I can put all of that in there. So that's where all the docs for all projects live.
Love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so hurdles. All right. So what are the biggest hurdles that you come up against whenever you're managing these projects?
Yeah. So two come to my mind. One, first one is what we cannot control, right? Which is back orders. Yeah. So everybody's living in it, but it is a hurdle that realistically we come upon. So sometimes we get ETAs that are a substantial amount behind. So then we get to collaborate with sales and say, hey, do we want to go a different route? Meaning, do we look into different hardware or do we just keep the same hardware? Making sure that client is okay with that timeline that we can provide them. And then the second hurdle, I would just say managing an entire support team that the only thing that they're not doing is projects. You know, I don't solely get them for projects. So, you know, as far as staffing goes, making sure that they have enough time for just their basic duties and their support tickets and stuff like that. And then also being able to use the same guys for projects because they're super talented. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so what can a client do to help make sure the project runs as smoothly as possible?
Yeah, so as far as what a client can do is, I would just say communication. So, you know, there are a few times that we wait on creds or any type of configuration credentials. That was tough to say together.
I like it, yeah, a little tongue twister.
Yeah, so there are some times that we wait on some of those to get logged into individual sites or anything like that. And then just how they want to be communicated to. So, you know, a lot of clients are like, hey, please don't email me or call me, just text me. And it's like, cool, I can get behind that. Like, but if I email you, it, you know, goes to your abyss with your thousands of emails from everybody else. So I would just say, you know, for me, letting a client letting me know how to communicate with you, that's one of the best things they could do.
How about on that?
Yeah.
Is it better to have multiple people to communicate with or one person to communicate with?
Thank you for asking. It is better for one if I'm communicating with one, but there are a few clients that have what I like to call a backup, right? So, I mean, you and Chelsea, I would consider you guys each other's backup, right? Okay. So there are some instances where, hey, Chelsea or Lee are traveling, so we just both want to be in it. And in those cases, easy peasy, I can put in both of you into an email strand or a group text message or however you prefer. As long as one of you are comfortable making the call at all times, I'm good with it.
I love it. That's good. Yeah, something we've learned along the way is really making that point person. Who is my point person?
Yeah, as long as I have somebody that can make the calls and is a point person, then I'm cool with it.
And then my last question, just how do I know a project is complete? You've kind of touched on this, but just really, if I'm the customer, how do I know this is done, we should be good?
Yeah, that's a great question. I fall back every time on the SOW. So the client sees the SOW at the beginning before they ever sign off on the project. They know what our scope of work is going to be, right? So they know exactly what we're going to go in there and do, whether it's 20 steps or 50 steps. They know the steps. And if we can go in and say, hey, our technician has completed all of these steps, right? There are also tickets inside your phases that allows you to see, if you were to log into that really cool portal, that those tickets have been completed. And so I always refer back to that to let you know. But at the same time, it's also what you're comfortable with. So it's us training you on it, making sure you're comfortable using it, right? Yeah. So me saying, hey, your PC is ready to go. If you can't log in, well, you know it's not complete, right? Yep. So you just being comfortable with it and understanding how it functions and how it works. And so.
That's super helpful. I love it. Well, Taylor, I appreciate you for coming out here and answering these questions, giving us some insight. I think this will be super helpful for anyone that's just looking at maybe either using us for a project or currently in the middle of a project. I think there's going to be some great nuggets for just anyone involved. I've learned some things along the way as well, which is always super great. You also made me look super old, I'm sure. So when I'm watching this later, I'll recognize that. So, but I just love working with you and learning from you, and so grateful you're here. So thanks again. I appreciate it.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.